Okay. So the way I structured this is kind of like, because I don't know how comfortable everybody is in writing, it's just kind of like a brief overview of certain writing elements, as well as the core values, and then more instruction on like the technical side of how to do things. So I will share with you, where did it go? Yeah. Very, very quickly. Why do they keep changing this? The kind of overview that I created for you guys, and I'm actually going to be able to give you all of these elements so that you have them. But the idea is to tell your story, or your organization's story, or the alliance story that you brought in. Seeds is a movement. It is a collective of individuals who come together around a shared purpose. It is the power of the individual stories that drives the change we all want to see in the world. So we have to remember that Seeds is a collective of people and their stories, stories of the past, stories of the future. That when you say this is Seeds, that's not just one voice. That is a whole cacophony of voices coming together, which means we're going to represent a lot of different opinions, a lot of different approaches. Some people might, be very logically minded, and it's like, well, if we want to tackle environmental problems, then we need to do CO2, and very they look to numbers. Some people are really emotional, and they look to personal anecdotes and examples of things being beautifully regenerated, and the values that people will cling to may be all similarly aligned, but maybe completely different approaches. And all of that is completely welcome. Inclusivity is terribly important, which means it's a collection. It's not just one thing. It's not just green and that's great. It's green and it's red and it's yellow and it's purple, and it's all of those things coming together to make something really magical. So every single approach is valid as long as we all share the same purpose. So we encourage, for that reason, everyone to share their voices, and likewise respect the voices of others and empower each other to be part of this movement, especially in terms of storytelling and the way that we share those messages. It's our shared purpose that binds us and the stories that drives us. There's a button that I put here, which is actually to a link. You'll get this PDF, but it's to a link that outlines that. It's an article in the Seeds library. So if you do write things outside of the Seeds universe, like on your own social media and so on and so forth, just remember that this is, we're all positive, and we're all embracing our stories within that universe. So this is just kind of a general list of the core values of Seeds, and this is something that's really important when we write and we deliver these messages. Some of the really strong ones are integrity, empathy, growth, impact, equality, passion, collaboration, regeneration, and then they go on. But one thing that's really important in the tone of voice that we have embodied in our messaging strategy since the beginning is positivity. So that just means that when we talk about the global situation, it's really easy to be totally dismal. We're all going to die. The environment is crumbling. Just throw your hands in the air, dig your head in the sand, and leave it all behind because it's worthless. that is a lot of the messaging strategy of a lot of environmental initiatives. Unfortunately, we've very, very consciously decided that we would like to take the approach of positivity. I suppose that's along the lines of you attract more bees with honey than with vinegar, which is an expression many of you may be familiar with. But it's just that we know the situation is dark. Let's be the light. And that's just to make sure that we really encourage people towards the solution rather than harp too much on the problem. We all know that there's major problems. So let's try and be positive. So it's just something to keep in the back of your mind when creating the content. So, and I can't actually see these because my thingy is covering it. So, and I have no mouse. Let me just fix that. So our goals when we do write anything or create any content, like I said earlier, each person who comes across seeds is drawn to it for a different reason. So some of the things to keep in mind are make sure the content is compelling. Is it interesting or is it different? What's the angle? Why is it special? Is it relevant? How much does it touch my life? Like, what is it? How does the stuff that you're creating touch me personally? And it may just be like, it's an interesting story. That's valid. That's perfectly valid. But try and understand, how does it touch the people you're trying to reach? Is it factual? Does it portray today's facts accurately? That's super important. Is it informative? Do I have all of the information I'm looking for? Like, let's say I have to say, oh, I just created this really great water bottle. Isn't it amazing? I read an article about this awesome water bottle, and it's long and it's great and it's fabulous. Okay, where do I get it? So we want to just make sure that we have all of that information included. So then if you're writing something that's a little bit maybe more long form, we've got some opinion articles on the Seeds Library that are beautiful. There's something in storytelling called like the narrative arc. And the way that works, you can see it in, if you've ever studied Shakespeare or watched a movie, you've got setting, which is like setting the stage. It was a dark and stormy night in a land far, far away. That's the setting. So what's the situation? Then there's a rise. There's some kind of like conflict. If you're talking about like an environmental project, like there was one day that I was walking along and I came upon a beach and it was just littered with plastic, and I fell to the ground and I couldn't believe it. I had to do something. So I, created this company and we've worked so hard and we finally made it. That's the climax. Now I'm reaching the climax of the story. What is like the tipping point, the turning moment. And then the resolution revelation is kind of like a coming down of like, now we've got this company in place and it cleans up ocean plastic or whatever that story may be. It's kind of like, this is the situation. And then usually after that, if we're doing something for a movement or an organization, then there's usually a call to action. This is how you can get involved. This is how you can participate. This is where you can buy our product. This is where you can donate to our cause. So usually that would be followed by a call to action in situations like ours. Not necessarily, but it's highly recommended. So like I said, there are various different approaches and different types of people that will connect with different types of content. So one that I am very strongly, and I can admit to that, is feeling. I write with emotions and purpose, and I connect with content that is very emotional. How did you feel in that moment? And how do you want to feel? And what gives you hope? What gives you pride? These are the things that I personally connect with. Then there are people who connect with thinking, logic, practical approaches. There is this much CO2 in the air. Our goal is to get it down to this. If we get it down to this, then this will be the effects. So that is perfectly valid, and plenty of people will identify with that. Another one is action. So when it comes to writing and storytelling, that will be like do and tell. We did this, and then we did this, and then we did this, and then we did this. So writing about actions, activities. And if you want to get involved, you can do this and you can do this. The most powerful content will combine all three of these. So I saw these numbers, the thinking, and I felt this emotion. So I took this action. And if we can combine all of these, we can write something that's really, really compelling. And this can be applied to anything from the really amazing organization that you brought on board and what they're doing, and how you can get other people interested in participating in that organization, or just talking to somebody that you want to bring into the Seeds universe, or to doing a tea with your community, with your neighbors, to tell them about what's happening at Seeds. This can apply to all of that. So just trying to give you some tools to prepare for any kind of storytelling needs that you might have. So let's help you write your great story. And I'm gonna give you this template as well, which is one of the many tools that I've developed for you. Before I move on, or while I'm moving on, does anyone have any questions on that?
No questions, just a comment. Awesome, beautiful presentation, lovely, very useful.
Yeah,
thanks,
you. Nila. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. One of the things that we're working on actually is to give all of the ambassadors the tools necessary to go out and do their ambassadoring. So that little presentation that I have is part of a much larger Keynote template that I can give to everybody. We're working on also Google Doc or Google Slides templates that you can insert your own content into and use that in your decks or presentation materials. If you're doing social media, we're also going to be creating Canva templates, if you use Canva, so that you can modify and create content yourself that you can use on your own social media with your own content as well. Let me get to the Seeds library. Okay, so this is the Seeds library. And it's just seedslibrary.com, although we're probably going to be modifying that and pulling that in. So we've got various different, it's just a blog. I'm sure most of you have seen this already, with different categories. So when you want to submit content on here, you just log in over here. Is it going to let me do it while I'm sharing a screen? Maybe not. Yeah, here we go. So I've already got one, but if you don't, then you'll just be asked to create it. Logging in. Then you can create your profile. You add a photo and like a brief kind of blurb about yourself. Try to keep it short. These are the content guidelines here, which should be, they're clickable. And you can go and see our tone of voice content. This thing keeps. So this is kind of your how-to guide right here. It's pretty straightforward. We have the ability right now to do written content, video content, and sound content. The sound content comes in from SoundCloud. The video content can come in from Vimeo or YouTube. So if you have a video piece of content or a piece of sound content, you have to upload it on that platform first and then just pull in the link. If it's written content, if you write it in another platform, which you're more than welcome to, and you copy paste, just remember that the formatting is completely different. So please read over your piece of content before you hit submit, because it's just going to save everyone time, because we'll have to go back to you and be like, can you separate the paragraphs out and tell us, where your headings are? So let's submit a normal article and just kind of go through that process. This is just making sure, you don't say anything that's like unlawful, misleading, discriminatory, or that you didn't write. Writing your own content is super important to us. We want to make sure that you're the one who wrote it. If you're providing photos, so this is something that we've had to intervene on. If you buy an image on Shutterstock or you've taken something from the internet, we can't use it unless we give the source. So if you've purchased it on Shutterstock, you have the right to use it. We don't. So it has to be original content, like a photograph that you've taken, or you have to give photo credit and it has to be copyright free. So we recommend, if you don't have a photo to go along with your article, go on Unsplash and take the name of the photographer, because Unsplash is all copyright free. Highly recommend that you use original content. So a photo that you have taken is by far the best. And at some point, we're going to phase out non-original content completely. So if you haven't taken the photo, we're just not going to be able to use it. That is not the case yet. You can still use something like Unsplash as long as you give photo credit, but ideally use your own pictures. So here we go. My post title is going to be My Awesome Story. Category. So this is where it falls, and it can only fall in one. So my awesome story, is it economically based? Is it governance? Is it instructional? No, my awesome story is just about me. So it's an opinion. Here's where I say you have to give author credit for the feature image. Each piece of content has to have an image attached to it. If you've used a video, take a screenshot of the video and use that as the feature image. Again, we have to give image credit. So let's say you took a video and it's just a view, and you've taken a screenshot of like at the beginning of your video, then just say image extracted from video. But we have to give credit because like legally, that's just how we have to do it. Tags are awesome. Tags are how we do SEO. Tags are how people find your content. Tags are how people can search for your content. So I'm going to use Nila, awesome content writing article. You can use as many as you want. Regenerate, regenerative, and so on and so forth. So on, so forth. As many as you want. You can have 100 if you want. The more, the better. So then I write, my name is Nila, and this is my story. And I keep going. What's really useful, especially for SEO, if you want your article to be able to be searched for later, is you put in subtitles. Early days, career, later years, and then you just do heading 4. Heading 4 is your subtitle, subcategory thing. And we're actually going to format it so that it's going to come up with our beautiful colors. This one doesn't have content. And then this is another subheading. See how that works? And then if this is all good and I'm super happy with it, I submit the article. I can't submit the article because I didn't do a feature image and author credit. We've made these mandatory because we can't include it without a feature image. Now I'm gonna show you what I mean by some of this. So if I go on, let's see, what's one that I did. Let's just click on one of these. So how that
Nila,
looks, yeah.
Nila, if it's your own picture, then you just put your own name there.
Yeah, if it's your own picture, you can, like, if this is a picture of me, then I can just write Nila McCann.
Okay.
So what this looks like when it's done is this is what the headings look like. And the words that show up in these headings, so this would be formatted heading number 4. Just think heading for subtitles. Heading number 4. This is what helps with SEO. So if you want people to find your content based on the words blockchain or Bitcoin, then using those words in the subheadings will facilitate that. So this is what that kind of looks like when it's done. And these are the tags at the bottom. And then this is how your blurb will show up. So we've also got it, I don't think we've published this yet, but ideally what we want to do is we want to have a list of all of the authors so that I can click on somebody's name and be like, I want to see what Estee wrote. And I can see all of the content that Estee has. And that's where these are. But we can't publish that yet because there have been a lot of people who have signed up and never put a blurb or never put an image. And it's like, it doesn't really look nice yet. So we're also going to try and make that mandatory. In order to publish, you have to have an image. It doesn't have to be your face. If you want to remain anonymous, it can be an image of something else, as long as you've taken the image and you have the right to use that photograph. And then like a little blurb about who you are. There was something I was going to say about that as well. It'll come back to me. Does anyone have any questions about how to post on Seeds Library? Or improvements? Because we're trying to make this as easy as possible.
Yeah, I have one about languages. So if I would like to create posts or articles on Russian or Ukrainian, so could I do it on a Seeds Library, or better to use English?
Okay, so basically we have an internal policy that every single piece of content has to have at least 2 pairs of eyes. The first pair of eyes is the person who created the content, and the second pair of eyes is an editor. So as long as we have someone who speaks that language, who is qualified to be an editor, you can post in any language you want. Right now, I don't know that we don't have them for every language. We're working on that. That's something we're trying to develop. We have right now editors in English, Spanish, German. Yeah, English, Spanish, and German, but hopefully that will scale up very quickly.
Okay, thanks.
Hannes, you have a question. I think I saw you post it in the chat. Go ahead.
I can't see the chats.
Oh yeah, this was my former question. Well, maybe more an idea or suggestion. But this question now, like, yeah, it goes along with what Esther was asking. do we have already dedicated like pages for the languages in the library?
We don't have dedicated pages for languages, but that is a really amazing idea. So I'm going to write that down.
Because it might be a bit weird to like go to the library and see like all these different articles mixed up in different languages. Right?
We do have tags for languages. So if you're writing in German, for example, write German, write the word German in German. Oh, we can do French as well. So like if I were writing an article in French, I could tag it French and Français so that anybody looking for it in French or writing it in English would be able to find it. And that's completely searchable and ready now. But dedicated pages I can definitely look into. We're also working to develop a Google Translate plugin so that all content will be able to be translated to all of the translations that Google Translate exists in. But we do also want to encourage people to write in their native language.
Just to add to that, like, at a later point, it might be really important for seeds to develop a more like local phase, depending on which country you are, right? So, like for example, if you access the seeds library from Germany, you might get redirected automatically to the German page of German seeds or the library.
Right? It's not that we're trying to redirect because it's a totally different process. That means creating a native page in that language, but it would automatically turn on the Google Translate plugin. So like Chrome automatically has that, and a lot of browsers have that, where it will auto translate, especially if you've had the Google Chrome has it automatically, but if you have the Google Chrome plugin on Safari, for example, it will automatically translate or show the language of the language that you've selected as your preference. But in addition to that, we also really want to encourage people like, Este to write in Ukrainian. We want to encourage, Spanish speakers to write in Spanish, so that it will always come across as more authentic and more true if you write in the language that you're the most comfortable in.
There is a question from Fabi on the chat. Is there a better plugin than Google Translate, like DeepL or something?
I am not the developer. I can find out.
No, sorry, that was not really, it was more an input to consider not to be discussed right now. It's like,
okay.
It's okay.
As for Hannes's question, creating a database in the future for scenes on stock photos, yes, that is a priority that we're putting together now. We've already got a few hundred thousands of images that Basel has generously donated from Thailand and his various stock photos from his career as a director of photography. So we have those. We just need to develop the system whereby we can access those. So like seeing a database of image 12387 is not, we need to categorize them, and that's going to take a bit of time. But yes, that is in the pipelines.
So Nila, if I can, I have a question, a couple of questions about materials, but maybe we'll get into that later. I think that probably a few of us have been looking for things like a 10 to 20 page slide, things like a great 5-minute video that maybe is a clear sort of introductory explainer. I'm not sure if we're going to get into that later. Are we going to get into that a little bit later? Or is this now a good time to chat about that?
That was kind of the next thing that I'm going to go over, but okay. Yeah, absolutely. That, let me just make sure that I give you guys all the stuff that I want. We're still developing a lot of this, and we're taking a lot of like all of those links at the bottom of the website to like the 2-pager, the 3-pager, the 4-pager, the content for organizations, the content for festivals, the content for all of those different pieces. We are just now updating all of that with the new visual identity. And we're also going to be offering templates for all kinds of content. So let's say you have a really great piece of content, but you want it in Swedish, for example. That's something that we're dealing with right now. So we're handing those over in editable form so that someone can change the language into Swedish, but it's the same content. Now, if you want to personalize some of the content that you've got, we also need to have it, you know, modifiable as well. So all of that stuff is still being processed. Most of it's done. And we have just figured out how to put in a link so that you get access to a Google Doc that automatically makes a copy of the original. So let's say you click on the link, you get your duplicate that's fully modifiable, and you totally mess it up. You can go back to that original link and you'll make another duplicate. So that the original stays intact. We can update the original if content is dramatically different or changed, but that everyone will have access to modifiable documents that they can use and personalize for their specific needs. Yes, 100%, that is happening. It's going to be at the bottom of the website, just like it is now for those. If there are specific requirements that you need, like there's a deck that you've been using and it hasn't been updated because no one's been using it for a while, but you're like, this is the one that I need. These are answering the questions that people are asking me. Just find me or Alberto, and we can make sure that that gets updated for you. We've put most of the emphasis on Keynote and Google Documents. If you really need something in something like PowerPoint, we can do that. But since it's not been what most people are asking for, it hasn't been a priority. And it requires a whole new overhead time because it's a completely different platform. So if you can use the I don't even know what they are, file types that we have got already, like Google Docs and Keynote, or even Canva, that's key. With regards to Canva, we are going to, in order for you to create as much social media content as we want, because we've got, we're going to be creating kind of just a landing spot for social media and then encouraging everyone to create their own social media. So let's say Irina creates an Instagram account called Regenerate with Seeds Romania. Then she can manage it and use templates and content that that we have created for her to create her own content. The idea is to give as many tools as we possibly have away so that people can do things themselves. So if you need more tools, let me know so we can get those to you.
May I have a question, Nila? If someone writes an article, how do we find a second pair of eyes, as you said, like the editor who is looking at our article? Thanks.
Well, right now it's kind of a bare bones team. And there's just 3 of us, and then like ad hoc for German and Spanish. But in the next couple of weeks, we're really hoping to scale that up and develop badges. We want the badges. We want to create an editor badge and a guardian badge. Those are the second pair of eyes. So once we have that, if we have that badge system in place, it should be really easy to find people because you can just look for the badge. And then you can reach out to that person directly. We're developing those systems now. But if tomorrow you need something, just send myself or Kim a message and we can check up on that for you.
I have a question. Actually, I have two questions. One is a bit related to what Rigo just said. How do we? I mean, now we're a bit updated. What's in the pipeline? I think that's super relevant to kind of also understand what's in the works. And I'm very excited that the website is going to be updated. I'm kind of like holding on until the new content is there. Also with like creating content ourselves, right? Like, or as you say, like asking for new tools, we kind of have to know what's already been worked on by whom. How can we most easy find out about that?
Right now, ask me. But like, it's a tough question to answer because we're still in the process of collecting all of that. Like, I'm still discovering presentations that have been done that are using, you know, 2 logos back, and like if I don't know about it, I can't update it, and I can't provide it to other people. So we're still very much in the process of collecting all of that together in like one central place of truth. As to answer this question, Drigo, I think maybe we need to create a Discord channel in the Seeds server.
Yeah,
Exactly. That would be super
totally. Maybe a storytelling channel somewhere. I don't know where we would place it, but I think that would be very helpful, especially if there's new content, or you like an update on a slide deck, or an updated video. I think that would be super useful. And then you can tag ambassadors and just let us know if something's been updated.
And even vice versa, just like a coordination, like even also requests, so we know this all has already been requested, or so we don't all individually come to you with like
a pipeline, so that if you see that something's in the pipeline, you don't have to ask for it again.
That was a storytelling channel, wasn't it? I thought.
There's like 100 channels somewhere. I'm sure there maybe was one at some point. Maybe there still is. So ideally, one of the things that we're trying to create is a subdomain of the website that offers all of the tools to ambassadors and alliances. So in this case, ambassadors, to have access to all of those documents in the same place, request additional documents, have a calendar set up so that you can find out when the events are going on. And all of that would exist there. In the meantime, yeah, maybe we use a Discord server and put all of that in like a Google Doc that can be updated, like pipelines and additional requests, so that, and we can pin that to the top of the channel. Do we have an official style book? Yes, we do. It is also being updated with the new brand, but it's in the Seeds library. On that side, when it says content guidelines, you'll find it there.
While we're talking about while we're talking about the website, just a couple of comments. I'm wondering, first of all, what is going to be the upcoming new website? Because right now we've got Join Seeds, and we've also got the Seeds library, right? Is there going to be a new sort of integrated website? And if so, what does that look like? And is that going to have sort of integrations with the passport? Do you know the answers to these very important questions?
I do know the answers to these very important questions.
Good.
So the website is being totally revamped. We've hit a couple little roadblocks on that in terms of the technical integration of buy seeds and swap seeds. But it's ready in terms of content. It's ready to go. And it will be open for, I think, a feedback round on a hidden URL in a matter of days. Excuse me. And the Seeds library, after the main website is up, then the Seeds library will be kind of reskinned with the new colors and and fonts. While it's being reskinned, if there are suggestions or recommendations to make the content submission process easier, quicker, more understandable, please tell me so that we can make those changes at the same time. When I say we're creating a new website or a new subdomain, basically it's what Franz and Lisa and the rest of the ambassadors have been asking for a really long time. And it's just kind of going to be an extension of the main website. So maybe it's going to be, because we're using joinseeds.earth is going to be the new website, getting rid of com and commercial. So maybe it'll be joinseeds.earth/ambassadors, joinseeds.earth/alliances. We haven't, decided on a subdomain yet, but whatever it is, let's say it's joinseeds.earth/ambassadors. It should be an ambassador portal that satisfies all of your needs. And we haven't, I literally just started this role yesterday. So I haven't actually done the legwork of finding out all of those needs in detail, but we do know that it's going to have a calendar. We do know that it's going to have a list of all of those documents and resources that the ambassadors will need in order to perform that function effectively. And I believe it will also have a list of requests for additional content if the content is not being satisfied or not satisfying those needs. But if you want to participate in those calls, please do. and we can get that information from you of what it is that you need and how we can offer that in the easiest possible way.
I have a follow-up question. Sounds really cool, especially the ambassador portal. Has there been some feedback that it might almost be too much of material on the website right now? Because you were saying that you're just updating all these 2-pager, 3-pager info for organizations, etc., in the bottom of the website. I just can speak for myself that I almost feel a bit reluctant to share joinseeds.com right now without a little bit of an additional warning of saying, don't get overwhelmed. Like if you need something, reach out to me again, right? I know it's a balance to make it available as much as possible and also not to overwhelm. So I'm just wondering if has been some discussion of maybe not putting everything there in the bottom, but maybe in a separate, I don't know, tab with resources, and there just like the really short intro or something.
I think it's probably best to wait until it comes out and see how you feel about it, how you interact with it. And then if you still have feedback, obviously offer it during that feedback round. But it's been redesigned in such a way that the information should be as simple and easy to digest as possible. Cool. And satisfy the immediate needs. So when most people come to a website, they're looking to learn a bit more. Like, I've heard about the seeds thing. I don't really know what it is. So I'm going to go to the website and find out. So like, what is it? Is your first question. And like, I don't understand how it works. How does it work? So these are the immediate questions that we're looking to answer in as simple form as possible. And then as you dive further down into the website, you, based on even those categories that I mentioned earlier on thinking, feeling, and doing, you're going to, like, the people who need more numbers and need more facts and need more figures will have that information. The people who want more anecdotes and understanding of like the purpose and the emotional aspect behind it will have that. The people who are looking to take action will have call to actions in there. So wait and see what you think and how you interact with it. And if you have feedback at that point, definitely let us know.
May I just say, like, sometimes there is like a sitemap on even in the bottom, and then if you click in, then you can just go and look whatever you are looking for. And also that you have the search button usually helps.
Well, right now we only have one page. It's just one page. Or like there's another page for buy seeds, another page for swap seeds. So we don't really need a sitemap yet because we haven't developed the other aspects of it, which would be the alliances and the ambassador sections.
I do have a question, Nila. It's not related with the website. It was more related with the previous discussion about materials that people are creating. For example, ambassadors or people who are working with onboarding alliances or organization like Rose, Rain, and others have created their own materials to suit their needs. And oftentimes it happens for people to come to Discord and say, oh, I'm looking for onboarding my community or onboarding my organization, and I just don't want to start from scratch. Is there a place I can go? Are there some documents already made? And I know there are documents that have been prepared by people in seeds and have this like official status, but there are these kind of parallel people working what they kind of find useful for themselves. So I'm thinking, maybe is there a vision to unite all of them? And when someone asks, I should say, okay, go to this place, and then you will further explore and find your answer.
Yeah, so basically, because this is a movement, this is a collection of people, there's absolutely no way to stop anyone from creating their own content and slapping their own logo and using their own colors and their own fonts. And we would drive ourselves crazy if we tried to do that. So the only thing we can do is offer the best possible alternative. So offering as much content as we can, so that rather than creating something new in their own way, they'll just use what's made available. We do have a document, like I said, it should be ready literally like before the end of the week, with all of those pieces of content, all of those decks that will be, when you click on the link, you'll get your duplicate copy. It'll literally say, you click on the link, and instead of getting the original document that is like comment only, or you're editing the original template, it will say, make a duplicate, and you will get your duplicate of it, which you can modify. That is what that document will look like. And then there's going to be a bunch of content on the bottom of the website as well. And all of that we're hoping to put in the ambassador website. I say website, it's not the whole website. But in the meantime, we'll give you that like, it's like a Google document with all of the links of the content that you can find. And also it's acting as a request as well. So if you've got, like, let's say Rain has a document that she's worked really hard on, and there's a lot of really great stuff in there, and just maybe the branding is a bit off, you can just pop that in, and we can have Alberto, who is our really incredible graphic designer, update it using all of the tools that he's created, so that it all looks kind of, I don't want to say uniform, but cohesive, so that when people talk about seeds, they can immediately recognize it visually. And that's what's really powerful when trying to create a movement.
So Alberto is the person to contact. For example, I created the deck.
Yeah, but I'm trying to avoid people to contact him directly, because he's such a nice person. He's like, I haven't slept in 48 hours because I got this additional request. I'm like, Alberto, don't do that. So I'm trying to, like, taper some of his workload, so because he's just a sweetheart, and we don't want to kill him. But also I'm fielding requests from a lot of different angles, so I can kind of get an idea of what is the request that we're getting the most, so the most important one, versus one that's like, oh yeah, I'm not really working on that anymore, and like maybe it's an old request. So we just want to make sure that we coordinate that effort.
Kind of Danny.
Yeah.
Happy with the facilitation, and I just want to be sure we are mindful of the time, so maybe to have some final questions and wrap it up.
Yeah, if anyone has one last question. I can't speak to the join conversation. The reason why we stuck with join actually is because when you go to the website, it's because you're looking for more information. The word join is a really short word. It's an action verb. Action verbs are by far the most powerful thing that you can possibly use. You can see seeds, you can look at them, they exist, seeds exists here, but join is something you can do with them. So that's why it like you feel that action, which is why we ended up going back around to join seeds. Also, because when you go to the website, you usually go to the website when you're looking for more information and you haven't yet made that step, which is why we were playing around with other subdomains for alliances or ambassadors to be maybe something different, but again, we haven't landed on anything. So if you want to be part of that conversation, you're welcome to join that conversation. And we can take that offline. If no one has, well, if you have any more questions that you haven't thought of today, you can always find me. And I will leave you with this little parting words, which are my favorite. So everyone can unmute themselves and just say, over and sprout.
Over and sprout.
Over and sprout.
Over and
Over and sprout, guys.
Over and sprout.